Do you know something that annoys me? It's that the design industry isn't regulated. Anyone can call themselves a designer in the same way anyone can call themselves a business coach or a life coach, but it doesn't mean they're any good at it. Now, I'm not tarring everyone with the same brush. I know plenty of coaches out there, for example, who've got plenty of years experience under their belt. But if their pitch is good, people are going to buy into it. Now, a lot of these so-called designers that you see out there, and let's be honest, if you look on Facebook, for example, it's flooded with them. And there are other sites out there such as Fiverr and Upwork, People Per Hour. Lots of people on there who are posing as designers. Now, plenty of them are genuine. Others may say they're a designer, and they may have only been working, trained as for a few hours or a few days. It's, as I say, it doesn't mean that they've got the skills to back it up. But if they're going to charge £200 for a website design, then go ahead. You're welcome to it. But the more premium you go, the more of a concern it becomes. Design, branding, marketing, everything that goes into the intricate details of creating a design isn't something you can just take from a book or learn from a few webinars. It comes from experience, from working on globally successful blue chip brands. As I say, you can't just pick it up from a book. So what can you do to ensure this doesn't happen? Okay, so there are several ways. Number one, testimonies. Now, testimonies are fantastic social proof. They come from your customers directly, and they should come from your customers directly. They're the only genuine way of knowing that they are from your customer, and they are proving that a project has been done effectively, and the customer is happy with the results. Now, if you were to ask for a testimony, there's nothing to stop them from just putting something together and making out that that's come from the customer, which is completely dishonest, but I'm sure it happens. So one way you can ensure that is maybe take a look at their Google page if they have a business, and see if they've got any Google reviews on there, because they really do have to come from the customer, as opposed to mocking something up and saying, here you go, this was from my customer. So providing they're genuine, testimonies are a really good way of proving that the job was done properly and the customer's happy. Number two, case studies. Now, case studies are fantastic in the sense that they show a project, they showcase the process that the designer took. So if we took a logo design, for example, it would show the communication at the beginning, the process that the designer took in terms of research and development, and it would then take it through stage by stage and show what processes were applied. Maybe a testimony will be put in there as well to show the end result, and it shows the consideration that the designer will take when working on a project, because there are lots of creatives out there who won't take that consideration. And at the end of the day, if it's your business and you have some branding or some communications that you want to be put together professionally, do you want it to be done properly, or do you want it to be, do you want corners to be cut and for it to be done quickly and rushed? Because a project needs to involve development in order for it to be done properly. So if you were to ask the designer for a case study, and they can prove they can provide that, then that sort of inspires confidence that they are a bona fide designer. So number three is price. So with price, now obviously everyone has their own price. There are designers that will price low, there are designers that will price high, and there are some that will price in the middle. You as a client have your own requirements, your own budgets, and you're fully entitled to select the budget that suits you. But you have to kind of consider the work that's involved. So going back to the earlier website example, there's going to be a limit, because if someone comes to you and says, I'm happy to do this design for this website for £100, £200, now that's a red flag, because if you're talking a full brochure website, how much time does £200 translate to you? It's a website isn't something that you can sort of take for granted. It's the backbone of your marketing and your communications. So there's a lot of consideration that needs to go into it, and therefore quite a lot of time. So within reason, you have to take a look at the price and think, well, is this price I'm being quoted a good reflection of how much time and consideration that is going to be spent on the design? Number 4 is website. So pretty straightforward one. If they're an established creative, if they've been working for a while, if they understand marketing and the communications of a brand, then you would expect they're going to understand the importance of a website. So if a designer doesn't have a website, it suggests that they don't really either understand or fully appreciate what goes into building a brand. So if they can't get their own branding right, what's to say they're going to do the same for your brand? And lastly is consultations or brand guideline requests. And what I mean by that is, when you approach them, do they ask you for assets? Because if we take a logo example, a logo design for example, you can't just say, can I have a logo design created please, Mr. Designer or Mrs. Designer? And then the designer says, yeah, no problem, I'll have that over to you within 2 days. Because they need to know how that design is going to be made up. What are your brand values? What are your what's the meaning behind your brand? What's the kind of the ethics? There are so many things to consider. You might already have brand guidelines, and if you do, it makes perfect sense that the designer is given those guidelines so that they have something to work from to build that logo, if it's a logo refresh, for example. So if they don't ask for your guidelines, or they don't say, let's get a consultation put together so I can understand what it is you need, what it is you need to communicate, that kind of stuff. If they don't ask for any of those things, they're not looking at the big picture. They're just acting on instinct like a robot and just saying, yep, I'll create you a design. And it is essentially ending up as an off-the-shelf design. It doesn't mean, that it's aligned correctly for your target audience. Doesn't consider your competition. There's lots of things that it's not considering. So when you speak to them, see how they react, and make sure that they ask for all these necessary things.